This is going to sound very disturbing probably, but I'm going to say it anyway. If we want to really embody this experience of being a human being who is a multidimensional being, not just a physical being, not just in the ordinary mundane sense of a being, but experiencing ourselves in this way where we recognize the presence of infinite possibilities that made it possible just to be here, and that's unfolding and expressing itself just like this. To really embody that, you have to give up hope. And when I say that, people go, oh, but what I mean is if what we seek to find that sense of being fully embodied lies anywhere outside of the present moment as it is and showing up to it, if that relies on something else, you'll never experience it. You'll never experience it. Because that's what hope does. It's a fantasy that takes us out of the present. It's painful to say that. I said this to someone who is, a deep practitioner, and they were like, oh my God, why would you say that? And the reason is because when you don't have this veneer of spiritual life versus mundane life, you don't have this veil separating them, and you see that it's all together, that both the deep sense of sadness and grief and intense capacity to experience bliss, the spontaneous experience of joy of being something, if they're together and they're not separated by anything, then you don't have to hope for anything else. All you have to do is be present with it. You just have to show up to it fully and allow it to be what it is. The barriers to allowing ourselves to be fully present with that, that's what the spiritual practices are for. They're putting us face to face with all those different kinds of separation that we make because they're useful to us. And to have that kind of practice is a very different thing than I'm a light being and I'm stuck in this three-dimensional body. There's so much separation in that way of approaching practice, because it means that this human vehicle is not valid, or it's just like garbage. And I just have to slog through this existence to get to the real thing. That's the worst part about spiritual bypassing, is that it devalues the experience of actually being something for the sake of trying to live inside of a concept. And this is what the people who have had the experience of self-realization tell us, is that if you drop all concepts, there's nothing else but your presence, then you don't rely on anything else and you're not in a fantasy about anything. But to be fully present with that, you have to really give up everything. You have to give up your beliefs. You have to give up your habits. You have to give up your desires. You have to give up the hope of something else. You have to give up past and future for the sake of being totally present with what is. That is a tremendous kind of sacrifice that most of us are not really willing to make at first go. We usually have to keep coming back to that over and over again before we really can allow ourselves to settle in.